All right, so this is live brokerment transaction section here. So obviously the way that a lot of folks might have to create transactions now, where you have a drop-down field, you have to manually enter this information. The great thing about the integration with Chime is that deals are going to naturally flow here into the system. So here's kind of a sample of what this would generally look like. Can take a look at these and accept or reject. Generally, you're going to accept unless you've already created something within the system. As you can see here, there's a lot of information here that flows over as part of that integration. And you can also configure and add fields here. If there are additional things that you want to track that aren't shown, you can add those fields. And then you can also make them mandatory. So if it's a case where you want zoning to be something that's mandatory, you can make that mandatory. It's going to show up as red, and you're not going to be able to move forward unless you have all the mandatory fields entered here. So a few different parameters here to do this by. So listing and pending, and then we'll take a look here at a transaction that I already have in flight. So again, here's kind of the clean look at the cover sheet, the information that came over from through the integration, as well as contacts that came over as well. And then from in here, you'd be able to start really that transaction management process. So as you can see, I've added a listing checklist here, all the different things here. And these checklists are all customizable. So here's kind of the checklist area where you would work on this. You can assign these different tasks on the checklist to different roles. You can require the documents be attached from your library, or perhaps from other documents that are enabled within the system. And all of these dates are dynamic. So you can change these based on the dynamic date that you select there. And again, this is with that checklist overlaying that transaction. And within the same transaction here, you're also going to overlay the commissions, and I'll show that in just a moment, but just wanted to run real quick through this checklist. So here you can upload documents. Also, there is unsorted section here where you can add any kind of documents here and then assign them into the checklist. And then there's also a unique identifier here for email. So you can email documents into this section and be able to attach them to pieces of the checklist as well. So all quite customizable and able to fit over your operations here. Commission section. So you can see here, I've added an agent and their plan. So all of these plans are templated, and you can have multiple plans associated with this agent. So right now, the plan that I have applied looks like it's 100%. There's a transaction fee of $150, and then there's a sliding scale deduction here depending on the sale price of the home, and then it's capped here at $5,000. So all that very customizable depending on your brokerage and how you do things. And all of this you can override within the transaction. So if you want to add deductions, or if you want to simply, I applied the wrong plan here, apply a different plan, and those changes are going to happen dynamically here. And then within here is also where you can do agent statements. So if you wanted to generate commission statement for that particular transaction, you can absolutely do that there, as well as generate CDAs. If you need to be able to do that, you can do that from this section as well. So all of that tied to the single transaction there. As part of that, we also can push those milestones to calendars. So here's my calendar within the system. I can see all the things here that are due or overdue. I can look at my calendar. I can look at the calendar for other folks who I'm involved with their transactions as well. If you use Google Calendar, we can actually push major milestones to Google Calendar as well. And then as far as other notifications, it's a whole list of of things, whether it be daily summaries or immediate communication. All of these things can be pushed from the system here based on something being done here. Also, full activity log within the system as well. So everything is auditable, who did what, when, all available here within the system. And then, once we close the transaction, it's going to update within Chime that the transaction is closed, and then you can continue work within there.